So I'm Marvis Ellis, candidate for the Howard County Board of Education.
Oh, Mia Robinson, the Pervade Group. I'm one of the management teams for Marvis Ellis.
I'm Jerry Wang. I work with Principal Miss Huang.
Yeah, I'm Miss Huang. I'm the principal of Peiying Chinese School.
I'm Ting Niu. I'm also part of the Peiying Chinese School.
And I'm Jin Shu, CAPA president.
Okay. I just wanted to do a very short opening statement, and I wanted to let you know that I'm a uniquely qualified candidate for the Howard County Board of Education. With over 30 years of experience in education, I have worked with high achievers and low achievers, diverse student and family populations in terms of ethnicity and income. I have created budgets on the national level, state level, and local levels for educators and students. I have worked with the national and state elected officials to make change happen in our schools. My commitment to students, parents, educators, and the communities I serve is shown through the thousands of hours that I have volunteered as director on the board of directors for the National Education Association, on the board of directors for the Maryland State Education Association, as the president of the International Association for Truancy and Dropout Prevention, and as an elected delegate to the 7th World Congress of Education International that met last summer. Professionally, over the years, I have worked as a classroom teacher, a high school administrator, an educational evaluator, and a PTA president. Presently, I'm a pupil personnel worker, a family advocate working with families, students, school staffs on issues like special education, access to community resources, discipline, bullying, attendance, crisis intervention. The current middle school that I work with is Parkland Magnet Middle School in Montgomery County, which is a magnet for aerospace technology. It's a very diverse student population with almost 20% of our students from Asian American families. The principal there, actually over the past 7 or 8 years that I've been there, has been Chinese American. At first it was Dr. Ben O-Young. He's moved to central office, and now I'm working with Connie Yang. But we have a significant number of Chinese and other Asian American school staff where I work on a daily basis. So I just wanted to share that in terms of my background because I think it's unique. I don't know anybody else who has that kind of experience.
That's great.
Great experience.
So would you like to read the first part? And that was the question. Because I read to the script, just to be fair to everybody, the first section.
Okay.
How it works, yeah. But if you want to skip, that's okay. I'm just suggestion.
Okay. The Chinese American Parent Association, CAPA, of Howard County, together with Howard County Chinese School, Howard County campus and Cantonsville campus, Chinese Language School of Columbia, and the Peiying Chinese School have solicited interview questions from our community. We'd like to present them to you now so you can prepare the interview ahead of time. The first interview will be conducting now. So let's begin the interview questions. We have prepared a dozen of them. Do you want me to begin with the first one? Okay, the first question we have is CAPA, the Chinese American Parent Association, and other community organizations would like to initiate an Asian American community roundtable. We'd like to invite local elected officials and community leaders to meet with Asian Americans in our community on a routine basis, for example, quarterly. Would you like to participate? Any other thoughts on increasing open communication between HCPSS and the Asian community parents?
Okay, so So the concept of an Asian American roundtable is very similar to a program that I started while being an administrator at Sherwood High School. At that time, Sherwood was an ESOL center with students from all over the world. And there they were simply called parent meetings, since parents helped to encourage others from their community to attend, and they set the meeting agenda. When we held the Asian American Parents Meeting, we had interpreters for a number of different languages, because we had Chinese, we had a couple of dialects, we had Korean Americans as well. So I would very willingly participate in such a meeting. Earlier this year, I recommended that the board participate in a listening campaign with various community organizations where board members could attend just to hear concerns that were being shared. Board members should also attend community events and celebrations sponsored by the Asian community to become more culturally aware.
Okay, good. Okay. Okay, thanks. The second question is, in the past years, it seems that increasing numbers of students are placed into GT programs. The size of the GT classes is forever growing. At some schools, more than 40% of students are in GT math. There are also some schools that try to place more students into GT English. The teachers have to slow down the pace to accommodate the students who are struggling in the GT classes. On the other hand, some students feel the class materials are repetitive and they are not being challenged enough in the class. What are your thoughts on this issue?
Okay, so class size is a budget issue, and you know that's basically where it's determined, and it should be addressed under the budget. Instruction is another issue. Teachers should be able to differentiate instruction to meet the needs of all of their students. As one who taught both regular and honors government classes for many years, I know it can be done. Teachers know about incorporating higher level thinking skills and expanding the curriculum to meet students' needs. If it is not happening for a particular student or class, parents should inform teachers or the administrator.
Right. I have some questions about the GT. The first question is, it's like the transparency in the school. You know, I have a fourth grader. Last year when they had the COGAT test, we didn't know that's an entrance test for GT program. So what's your thought? You know, parents need to be involved with this part, because for the COGAT test, to be honest, if you don't prepare, rarely you can do well in the test.
Well, I am a big advocate for transparency, and I think the parents and the community should be informed when there are going to be any kinds of changes in testing requirements, the impact of what the testing will do for students, in the long run. So I'm definitely an advocate for transparency.
That's great. And my second question is, I heard in Montgomery County, they have the thought about, for the GT program, like a race-based. What's your thought about that?
Which is
like
needs.
Yes, like a certain percentage of, Caucasian, African American, Asian to the GT. Is that true?
I have not heard that they are doing a percentage-based acceptance to any kind of programs.
Okay. It's not.
I have not heard that at all.
Right.
Let's save all those questions to the end, because to be fair to everybody, we always ask those preset questions first, and then we have free time for questions.
I just for the GT as well.
Okay. The third question is, we believe the school system should raise the floor without pulling down the ceiling. It benefits everybody in our community when each student can achieve his or her highest potential. To raise the floor, the school system needs to invest more in the programs helping kids who are lagging behind. such as the morning program and the summer program. We would like to hear your plan to improve these programs or introduce new initiatives.
Okay, so there will always be students who struggle or face challenges in accessing the curriculum. The first intervention comes in the classroom again with the teacher who should be able to differentiate instruction for the curriculum being taught. And that goes pre-K to 12. Sometimes some of the teachers think that, oh, I'm just teaching my curriculum and I don't, if they don't get it, they don't get it. But they should be responsible for differentiating as other teachers are. More summer programs for the neediest students should be supported by HCPS. I support that. Morning programs before school, though, may provide inconveniences for working parents. Unfortunately, the board does not create or plan programs. Its role is to evaluate and fund the ones that are successful. My background in evaluating educational programs around the country and in Maryland has provided me with the tools to insightfully access what works in schools and determine whether or not a program is being implemented as designed. Let me just say very quickly, I did my graduate work at the University of Wisconsin in Madison and evaluated open classroom schools around the country. So I've been in a number of states, a number of settings to evaluate programs. In Maryland, I've been an evaluator for the Positive Behavioral Interventions program in schools across Maryland. So I have a background in educational evaluation that can be applied to different programs as they are being implemented. Those processes and strategies are very similar.
Thank you. The fourth question. Many research shows that socio-economic status instead of race has bigger impact on a student's academic performance. What are your views? If you are elected, how would you evaluate the situation and how would you make policies to direct the resources to the students and families in need?
Okay, on the question of socioeconomic status versus race on academic performance, I don't think that that the impact of either can be minimized. I know that in Howard County, we have very high achieving minority students, minority families, or families that come from high socioeconomic status who are still having concerns about their children's performance in the schools. Last year, when I learned that over 50% of the students in America's public schools get free or reduced lunch, I asked, what is the National Education Association doing to support our educators working with students living in poverty or having trauma on a daily basis? So I then proposed and passed new legislation for NEA's 3 million members to have a toolkit of best practices and a training module developed to work with these students. We know that these students are disproportionately minority students, but they're in every school. So I was really happy about that last year.
Thank you. The fifth question, the school system conducted a survey on religious, cultural, holiday observance. If you are elected, how would you like to use the results of the survey to benefit the HCPS community?
Okay, so I think that the survey may provide information on the numbers of students and staff that may be absent on specific days, and thus justify the schools being closed. But I don't think that the numbers should be looked at just system-wide. It is also important to look at how many of a specific cultural group would be absent for a cultural event.
Thank you.
And notice I'm not using the word religious event because politically we cannot close the schools for a religious event.
So what do you mean by look at cultural group?
Okay, so if we have, we know that we've been getting Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur all forever. In terms of the numbers of the people who are out. I think we know that the folks who are Jewish, they may have, I don't know, I'm just trying to say it may impact students in a specific school.
Mhm.
So I don't know, I think we have to look at that as well.
You mean by school, data by school, or?
We're looking at how many students would be impacted and how many students are impacted. And it may be that in some schools, you may have more of one population than another, and it may majorly impact that school, whereas another school, it might not impact them at all. And people would say, well, nobody here's gonna be out for that day. But I think we have to look more specifically at the impact. And while I'm on this, and I know we're gonna go into the next question, but one of the things I'm gonna throw out there now is that every community organization should be looking at the impact of schools starting after Labor Day, how that will limit the number of days kids are in school and have access to instruction, how it will limit the number of days that educators have for professional development, and whereas schedules have been set or proposed this year, if schools don't start till after Labor Day, with maybe a waiver that might be given for some days, it's going to impact the agreements that we have determined on a local basis as we go
Right,
forward.
Chinese community is discussing this issue, not only Howard County, but Montgomery County
Yes,
and
yes.
Baltimore County, because we are all connected
Yes.
on social media.
Yes.
So, this is a big issue, from day one, we are
Yes.
discussing this issue right now.
And the data that came out, I guess when I saw the statement, it was that 70% of parents agree with that proposition of not opening schools till after Labor Day. And I think parents have to say, I didn't agree to it. Who did you talk to? You know, if you do a survey, you can do a percentage survey and survey 300 people and say, this is
Right.
what people in Maryland think. But if people in Maryland, if parents don't feel that way, if you're not concerned about the big business making extra dollars by having schools closed till after Labor Day, then people have to speak up. Maryland Boards of Education said local control, we should be able to determine, so I'm for that. Okay.
Okay, thanks. The sixth question, do you support closing schools on Lunar New Year Eve, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Eid al-Adha, and Diwali, Christmas, and Easter?
Okay, so again, I said as we know, we cannot justify closing public schools for religious holidays. But because a significant number of specific groups recognize a cultural event, I think HCPSS should support them in doing so, and doing these observances as they see fit. So I know that, so that's basically where I am on that. I'm in support of that.
Thank you.
And it is excused absence from
Oh,
school,
yes.
right?
Oh, yes.
Even parents decide to put it.
Yes.
So,
That's different from officially closed, because
Right.
even it's excused,
Mhm.
you have to do your homework, you have to make up the homework, especially
Yes.
for the high schoolers.
Yes.
It's very, very hard.
The seventh question, how do you plan to increase Chinese language service and support in Howard County Public Schools?
Okay, is that all that one?
Yeah. Yes.
So where I work, there are students from all over the world. As a pupil personnel worker who is limited to only one language, I rely on access to our language line resources and interpreters when providing services to our families. I can use my cell phone to access the language line when doing home visits. For IEP meetings, EMT meetings, whatever other parent meetings, I can request an interpreter to come. And we have languages, we have a lot of Amharic families, whatever language we need, we have access to. And I think if that is not being implemented in Howard County, we should look to do it here.
To my understanding is, for those big county-wise, those meetings you can request, but like small meetings, for example, PTA meetings, definitely I got, I asked the central office. Those are the small meetings, school level meetings. It's hard because there's not enough people to work as a interpreter.
And that might be something that your associations could help us with, if we could get people who would be willing to do that either as a job or as a volunteer. When we had the parent meetings at Sherwood, we brought in not only interpreters, but we had headsets accessible, so that if people were even table by table speaking different languages, they would have access to that. If I was doing an IEP meeting with the 6 or 7 of us, whatever, I could have an interpreter at that meeting within maybe 1 or 2 days' notice. So I think that's something that we should be able to do here as well. And again, you have the paid interpreters, you have access maybe even to a volunteer service, because if people need access to information, and if you're at a meeting, you were talking about transparency, you can't come to a meeting where it's transparent if you don't understand what's being said.
Yeah, and many parents hesitant to go to the meetings because of the language barrier.
I understand.
So it's very hard to get parents involved if they feel it's either true or perceived that their English is not good enough. Some parents' English is good enough, but they fear they cannot understand. But that's will prevent them from going to meetings.
Well, one of the things that I've been able to do, because I invite parents to meetings all of the time, is you can go on the language line, you can have the interpreter talk to the parent in their language, encourage them to come into the meeting, let them know that there will be someone at the meeting that speaks the language and will support them in that meeting. And so we've been successful with that. So I would see something like that happening here if it's not being done.
Thank you. The 8th question. Recently, the River Hill High School canceled its 2017 Chinese AP4 in-class teaching, which has a huge impact on the students taking the class and the students who plan to take class in the future. Just for your reference, over 66% students taking Chinese AP classes there do not have Chinese culture background. The school system is quickly moving to online teaching, even for world language class or with computerized teaching. How do you view this?
Okay, so first of all, I must say that I'm a former high school AP test coordinator. And I understand that students can get college credit if they score high enough on those tests in the spring. So for students not to have access to this course, it's more than just taking a course. It's also in having an opportunity to get college credit. Okay, so one of the questions I would ask about this course is, how many students are involved? Is the course being offered at any other high school in Howard County? Finally, is it being offered at Howard Community College or any other area college where they could get credit? As a school board member, I would investigate relationships with colleges for course offerings for high-achieving students. Sometimes students can take classes at a college or community college and then come into the high school. That has happened in Montgomery County. I know they go and they come back and they get their credit because that's what's important. I am not in support of online learning. I don't think it allows for enough personal interaction between the students to teacher, in taking most of the courses.
Thank you. The 9th question. What's your plan to increase the transparency for our budget plan and the general decision-making process?
Okay, so as you probably know, the Howard County Board of Education has only one employee. That is the superintendent.
Right.
And with the election in November, there will be a change of perspectives on the board. As a member of the board, I would be more responsive to the concerns and issues articulated by parents, teachers, other educators, and the community at large. As a member of the board, I would work to reinstate the Citizens Budget Committee. As a member of the board, I would be committed to allowing the decision-making processes to be open to input from groups who have felt disenfranchised. And finally, as a member of the board, I would ask that HCPSS staff be required to respond to board members' questions in a timely manner. If you've been to some of the board meetings, some of the people on the board said, well, we asked staff this question, but we haven't gotten the answer, and now you want us to vote. I'm saying, I don't understand that. Staff is supposed to be responsive to the board so that they can make an informed decision. So that would be one of the things that I would work on as well.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Let me just turn this off. It's so funny. Usually when I'm in my schools, my phone doesn't work, so I don't have to worry. Okay. Okay, I think it'll be okay. Let me just do that. Okay, there we go.
All right, the 10th question. How many schools and teachers have you visited in the past 12 months? How many parents or parents groups have you met in the past 12 months? In your assessment, what are their main concerns?
Okay, so when I got this question, I said, do you want a book? Do you want me to write you a book on this? Because, well, let me just start with where I am right now. As a pupil personnel worker, I advocate for students and their families daily on problem-solving issues around special education, bullying, instructional interventions, restorative justice, mental health concerns, and access to community resources. So that's every day I'm working with families and educators to do this. Then in terms of I just left the NEA Board of Directors and the MSEA Board of Directors. The NEA Board represents 3 million members. The board itself is almost 200 members. And I can say that I have met with thousands of educators in the past 12 months to advocate for issues impacting students and their families. We have our conference every year, our general conference, where we have between 8,000 and 10,000 members. And as I said, last year I advocated for getting materials dealing with poverty to the tune of about $80,000. So that was funded from last year. This year I spoke on special education. I meet every year. They have a conference on the concerns of women and minorities. The NEA has an ethnic minority affairs committee that represents all of the major ethnic groups, and we support issues dealing with minority educators, minority students. We're talking about, we have Asian, Pacific Islander, Native American, African American, Hispanic American. We all meet. Okay. As a member of the MSEA Board of Directors that has approximately 70,000 members, we have a meeting that has maybe 1,000 members every year. So, when you start talking about this, I have worked with them very closely. And I'm also part of a group called, two other things I want to talk about. One, I'm a member of a group called the Continental Society Incorporated at the Southeastern Howard chapter, which is a group of women who come together to provide supports to schools. We do reading programs. We talk about a passport to success. We'll do Dress for Success. We do health fairs. We'll do backpack giveaways. So I've met in a number of schools across the county with parents and educators here in Howard County. Basically, parents all have the same concerns, and that is about having their students receive a world-class education that will prepare them for college or careers where they will be successful. Families move to Howard County for their schools, and they expect the best. Also, parents want their voices heard, and they want to be respected on issues impacting their children. We have heard in the past where the board has said, we know what's best for your kids, but they haven't listened or had the participation of parent groups, of community groups who may not have children in the schools but are still concerned. And I think we have to be open to your issue. Parents also want information on issues that affect the school environment, the health of their students, class size, attendance areas, and the qualification of their teachers. So parents are always saying that, and they also want what's fair for their kids. You know, in special education, in the disciplinary procedures, in terms of being able to achieve highly within their school system. They don't want any roadblocks to that. So those are the things I think that are parent concerns.
Thank you. The 11th question. There are many Asian students and Latino students in our school systems. Some schools have a high proportion of Asian students and some have high proportion of Latino students. Outside school time, their foods are primarily the food associated to their culture. Do you know whether school meals have these options? What would you do if the meals do not have such options?
So as a member of the board, I would advocate that culturally appropriate meals be provided by HCPSS to their students. Good nutrition comes from many sources, and our diverse student population should be exposed to a wide variety of schools. Where I work, I have been based previously at Springbrook High School, and we have a very diverse food services staff. And they have foods from all over the world. I'm just surprised that we don't have that option here. I think that that's very easy. Once you say, okay, here are our nutritional guidelines, we need to provide options and variety. So I'm very willing to advocate for that.
Thanks. Now is the time for open questions.
Would you like to ask a couple of optional questions? Because there are, we received a lot of questions. So we deleted some and combined some, and we chose 11 questions that we think time-wise, it's better to handle. But we also have some optional questions. Maybe we can choose one or two. Cause I like the one about the park test and the map test, 2-minute tests, I guess. One of the questions.
I don't think we got the optional
Oh, you don't
questions.
have that?
We don't have it.
I think I remember that question because I have been in enough interviews. The questions is about we have 3 park tests and 2 or 3 math tests each year, depending how many which grade are in. It's very time consuming. It uses a lot of class instruction time. So, and if we cannot make a good use of it, what's the purpose of it? What's your thought?
Okay, the Maryland State Education Association, in our legislative agenda that we have been using for the past couple of years, one of our focuses has been less time for testing, more time for teaching. And we have worked very hard, and so I am committed to reducing the number of tests that our students are being given because they are not useful for instruction. If it's not useful for instruction, we need to not do it. It's evaluating the school, it's evaluating the teachers, but it is not helping. So you won't get the test scores back till the summer. Kids are out of the classes. so it's not really useful. As well as the kindergarten readiness test, which is frustrating. Our kids get stressed out when they go in for tests because they want to perform so well, and then they're not going to be able to get a score back that can be utilized. So I am not in support of all of that testing.
Yeah, I know PARC test is required by state.
But the math, I think,
yeah.
may be gone.
Math, is it gone?
But
No,
I-
I don't think so. It's still there. I mean, the past year, at least the
Yes,
last year,
yes.
it's still there.
Okay, well, here's the other thing that you should kind of look at, and I haven't done my homework recently, but recently the Every Student Succeeds Act passed Congress. It used to be, it used to impact IDEA. It used to be like No Child Left Behind that mandated all of the testing. Well, with the Every Student Succeeds Act, school boards, state departments of education now are looking on a more local basis to determine what the testing needs are for the communities. And our board should be looking at that, as well as the Maryland State Department of Education, in terms of what tests we want to do in Maryland, as opposed to those that have been mandated from the federal government. So.
And I have a question. Recently, the Obama administration has pushed the directive stating that every public school should provide transgender access or face the loss of federal funds. There are a lot of debates around that directive. So, do you have any comments or thoughts on this?
Because I work in a number of schools, last year I had 5 schools in middle school and 4 elementary. This year I just have one middle school and 2 elementary. It would surprise you to know that we have elementary students who come into school who are questioning their gender identity. And we don't want them to be bullied. We want them to be safe. It's something they're dealing with. It's something their family is dealing with. Sometimes the parents totally agree. Sometimes the parents are questioning. But as a school system, we have to be acceptable to all of our students' needs and provide them with a safe environment. And if that means opening up restroom facilities for kids who are going through some kinds of, have identity differences, I think we should support them.
Follow up on that. I think most parents don't have any problems with unisex bathroom. I think the problem is when a transgender student insists to enter bathroom or locker room of opposite sex. So with
We talk about the rights of the majority while protecting the rights of the individual or the minority. And I just think it's a real issue. One of the things that I have noted over the years, we have more sexual identity issues in high school than we ever did when we were coming up. It's not like it used to be. Things they used to be in the closet. Things are not in the closet. Kids are out where they are. And I guess the only other way to really deal with that is maybe if you have a unisex restroom facility and still have boys and girls facilities. So people who really don't care who's going in there could use the unisex, and the kids who want to go into the boys or the girls can go into the boys or the girls. Now some kids won't care. They'll say, well, I'm straight, but I'm going in unisex because it's right around the corner. But some of the other ones might go into unisex because they feel more secure. It's just so hard. It's a hard question.
Very sensitive question.
Okay, do you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question. Talk about the sport. Yes, we like many parents or Asian parents want to add like the volleyball boys team in the high school because we have so many Asian. We have Olympic play the coach. So now we don't have boys volleyball team in the high school. In Montgomery County they have. So yeah, can you just like apply or some
Okay, so you're asking about
mhm.
boys volleyball in
Yes.
the high school.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I don't know what determines what sports
Mm-hmm.
are allowed in Howard County Public Schools. But I think it's a question
Mhm.
that should be taken to, raised and
Mhm.
taken to the athletic director because, once the school year starts, things are pretty much in concrete for that school year. As parent and community groups, I think you can advocate because you as parent, you can't get a whole lot done. But if you have people behind you, and the other thing I would look at are other community organizations. I'm a great one for networking, finding other people who would also support a call for boys volleyball in high school. So I think that you should network with other groups as well to advocate for boys volleyball in high school because that's how it happens. One voice doesn't get a whole lot done, but working with other people and even other groups can make things move.
Yes, the parents all struggle about this because we don't have a chance to go to the high school. The team. So Montgomery County have a volleyball boys team, co-ed team. So a lot of boy can do that.
It's hard. One of the things that I have done over my career in education is I do network. I do work with PTA presidents, and sometimes I get my hands slapped. I've brought in PTA presidents. One of the schools I worked with last year was for fragile students who had major needs, physical needs. And they did not have a counselor, an ESOL specialist, or a social worker in that building. I can't get it because I'm staff, but a PTA person talking to people on the school board and the county council might be able to get more support. So I brought in my PTA president. I said, here's this person. She didn't know who they were. I said, this is this person on the county council. This is the head of the school board. I said, have your spiel ready so that you can say what you need. And she was able to do that, and they were listening, and they got more support. 2 days later, my supervisor's supervisor, her supervisor sent out an email about that PPW who brought in a PTA president. I said, oh well, but they had needs that were not being addressed. And so you have to do those kinds of things, Sometimes you get your hands slapped, but it's okay.
Who make decision for the high school team?
There's probably an athletic director. Who that person is, I don't know, but there would be someone who's over all of the sports in the county. Because when you're talking about sports that would be county-wide, you're not dealing with just your building, with a high school building. There's an athletic director at each high school building. You're looking for his supervisor.
Okay, thank you.
So I just want to end by saying, I'm just so happy. Oh, I'm
No,
sorry. If you have another question?
Do you have any question? Because I do have a follow-up question.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
All yours. I'm fine.
Yeah, I would like to have a follow-up question as
Yes.
her magnet school at Montgomery. Because you said you worked at the Montgomery magnet school before. The GT reform she refers to is ongoing right now. I don't know how much you should know much better than me. But let me tell you what I know is that they hired a outside company to produce a 200-page report GT, it's called the GT Reform. I guess it's not the official name, but yeah, the GT Reform Report. And I know Asian community is specifically, they have concerns about one item in the report, is that the admission standard to get into the magnet school changed to the group norm.
Okay, so you're talking about an issue of overrepresentation of
Yes.
Asian American students in some of the
Yeah.
magnet programs such as Blair High School.
Right. So it's not, you have to have certain percentage of each group. Instead, the language is you admit, you are accepted based on your group norm. That means how you rank in your racial group.
Okay, so I totally understand what you're saying because, again, my background's in educational evaluation and I did all of those educational statistics. So I know what you're saying is that the group norm for maybe Chinese Americans might be different than the group norm for African Americans or Hispanic Americans, so that African Americans may get in with a lower score based on their group norm. Is that correct? Okay. I'm not sure how that's going to play out in Montgomery County. I know it is an issue. One of the things that I've seen happen in Montgomery County is that there's magnet programs, then there's IB programs. There are programs for high achieving students across the county. And the question is, which one is really best for the student? And that's sort of a parental issue or a student issue. One of the other schools I worked at was Richard Montgomery High School that had one of the first IB programs in the county. It goes to what they call these equity issues. And sometimes kids get in these programs not just based on test scores, the entrance test, because they do have some entrance tests that they may look at, their community service kinds of backgrounds and other things like that in order to get in these programs. So I'm not sure that I have any strong feeling on those as of yet. I haven't read the 200-page report. I've heard noises about it coming out, but I must admit I have not read that report as of yet. But we'll see what happens as that goes forward.
Okay.
Okay. So any other questions?
No.
So I was going to say before, I'm just so happy to be here and be able to share with you guys. Sometimes, I must admit, the day of the forum last spring, I had attended one church service at 8 o'clock. When that service was over, I went to patient first. I went to the second because I had a sinus infection. I went to the second service, and before I came to the forum, I went to pick up my medicine. So I don't even know if I was all there for the first forum. So I'm just glad I have an opportunity to talk with you folks again.
That's great.
Thank you.
And do you have a closing statement you would like to say? Or?
My closing statement is that I don't have one that I wrote out. I tried to be real organized in the beginning. I am committed to students, families, and educators. As you know, I've been endorsed by the Howard County Education Association. They know me because I have been on the NEA Board of Directors for the last 6 years. The term ended the end of August. I've represented them on the national level, on the state level, so they know me and know that I will work for the best for them, and not only for them, but for the parents, because who else works with parents every day? Earlier this week, I did a home visit for a student who has ADHD, and his mother said he doesn't want to take his medication. So when we got back to school, I was with the administrator, and we met with the student, and we talked to him about how important it was for him to take his medication so that he could produce the best he could while he was in school. So he's starting to do that. So I just wanted to share, again, HCEA, the Howard County Times has endorsed me, the African American Coalition, the People's Voice. So I'd like to get your endorsement as well.
Thank you.